This is Bella. Bella was a dairy cow. Her life was a continuous cycle of insemination, pregnancy, giving birth, having her calf taken away, and months of constant milking before beginning it all again. Although the natural lifespan of a cow is about 25 years, dairy cows are put under so much stress that the dairy industry sees them as worthless after only about 4 or 5. When this happens, they are loaded onto a truck and shipped off to a violent end at a slaughterhouse. In the early morning of July 21st, 2010, Bella and a few dozen other cows were bound for slaughter. Around 4 a.m., the semi-truck carrying Bella crashed and rolled over, killing some of the cows and injuring others. Those that could still walk were quickly loaded onto another truck to continue their final journey. Almost as quickly, word came that 5 cows had managed to escape and were still on the loose. Phone calls and emails from people who had heard about the crash began to pour into the Sasha Farm Animal Sanctuary in Manchester, Michigan. After some investigating and a few conversations with the Michigan State Police, Dorothy Davies, the sanctuary's director and co-founder, received permission for Sasha Farm to rescue any of the 5 cows that remained at large. The search for survivors went on for weeks. During that time, 1 cow was shot and another was hit by a semi-truck. Just as it seemed that all hope of finding any of the remaining 3 was lost, Sasha Farm received a report of a sighting. Sasha Farm co-founder Monty Jackson made the 2.5-hour trip to rescue the cow, who by now was being referred to as Bella. But by the time he arrived, she had managed to disappear once again. After another unsuccessful attempt to coax Bella out of the woods with food and water, a new plan was devised. Volunteers fenced in a small area behind a pasture they had permission to use and waited. Sure enough, word soon came that Bella was inside the enclosure. Veg West Michigan activist Chad Richmond managed to close the gate behind her, and Bella was secured. The only thing left was to load her onto the trailer. But Bella was in no mood to cooperate, even charging at volunteers as they tried to guide her into the barn. Eventually, she decided to follow another cow into the barn, and from there she was loaded onto the trailer that would take her to her new life at Sasha Farm. Upon arriving at Sasha, Bella continued to display aggression, charging Monty as he opened the door to let her out of the trailer. When Bella failed to calm down after a few days, Sasha's staff began to suspect another reason for her behavior. Bella was pregnant and was simply protecting her calf. Just over a month after Bella's arrival at Sasha, there was another arrival. Mr. Rogers was born on September 23rd. If they had still been at the dairy, Mr. Rogers would have been taken from Bella days after he was born. But since he was born here at Sasha, he will be able to live with his mother for the rest of his life. The following February, Mr. Rogers, now 5 months old, required medical attention for his leg and was temporarily separated from Bella to make the journey to a nearby veterinary clinic. As Mr. Rogers spent the night in a different barn, Sasha's staff and volunteers recall hearing endless cries between mother and calf, who were only a few hundred yards apart. Less than 24 hours after their separation, Mr. Rogers, whose leg had been successfully treated, was reunited with his mother. Bella, who had been bellowing almost constantly during Mr. Rogers' absence, headed straight for him as soon as she saw him coming off the trailer. This would be the first time in Bella's life that a calf that was taken from her was actually returned. Now, 1 year later, Bella, Mr. Rogers, and the rest of the herd will live the remainder of their lives free from the pain and suffering inflicted upon cows by the meat and dairy industries. They have finally found peace here at Sasha Farm.